If you're a returning subscriber, welcome back to the channel, and if you are new to the channel, we love to have you here as well. As always, thanks for subscribing, thanks for hitting that like button, and thanks for watching, guys. Today, we are going to be doing an episode of something where I've seen a lot of these videos on YouTube talking about the X amount of things you love or the X amount of things you hate about your specific car. I've been wanting to do one about the E36 for a while. Today, it is going to be the 5 things that I hate about my E36 M3. Now, don't worry, it's not all negative news. I am going to do a follow-up video about the things I love about the E36 M3, and it is going to be more than 5, I'll tell you that right now. Oh! There went a Chevy SS. If you guys know what that is, then you're lucky. Another E36 owner.
My car grows up, it wants to be just like your car.
Oh yeah?
What year?
99.
My 98, badass car.
Nice, yeah, thanks man. You too. I film YouTube videos about the car.
Oh, do you?
Yeah.
Where do you go on what YouTube channel?
It's a little weird of a name. It's called Treats on the Streets.
Treats
Yep.
on the Street?
Yep.
I will look it up.
Alright man.
I will look it up.
Awesome, nice car. I like it. See ya. And there goes a beautiful white 328. Cool dude. So as far as the title suggests, you know, I've had this car for a while now, and actually a while back I did a video on why I bought this car instead of a 350Z, BRZ, or an S2000. Now I still am standing by my choice, and I'm glad that I got the M3, but that was just a bit of a tease. But as you'll know, the 350Z was the runner-up in that video. If you haven't seen it, I'll have the link in the description, so go ahead and watch that. But the 350Z was the runner-up, and it was the car that I would have bought had I not bought this. Check out that sweet 350Z right there. But this is the sweeter E36 M3 right here. So anyways, let's dive into the things that I've learned to not like so much about this car now that I've had it for close to a year now. So here we go. The number one thing that I hate about the E36 M3 are these freaking cup holders. Now, if you don't live in the United States, this may not be such a big deal to you, but here in the US, it's a bit frustrating. Now, let me explain why. As I mentioned, here in the United States, we have to deal with this because I don't know if it's just our cup sizes are different or what, but if you see here, there's this first edge and then the second edge that sticks out further into the cup holder. There are these little things on the side that kind of hold it in, but the problem is cups only fit. Doesn't matter if you go get a small, a medium, a large, an extra large. No matter what size you get, even if it's just a small water bottle, they don't fit past this indent right here. So the cups only stick down like 1.5 inches or 2 inches, and because of that, when you put them in here, they're really flimsy, and you just can't trust them sitting in here without them falling out. Feels more like a shift knob than a cup holder. Now, I have looked on forums before, and I have not found a good solution for what people are doing here in the United States to modify these cup holders or to buy a different cup holder that will fit our cups here. Another thing that boggles me why we don't have such a simple solution yet, or at least one that I found, is look how easy these things pop out and go back in. To be able to make another one of these that swaps in just seems like it would be really simple to do. That being said, if you know of a solution that will fix this cup holder problem that I have here in the United States, leave me a comment down below and I will definitely get it. And of course, just to fit the American stereotype, I do go to fast food joints from time to time and get myself a nice cold Coke. Okay, now on to the next thing that I don't like about the E36 M3. This will be number 2. Now I should say that these 1 through 5 are not in any particular order. They're just 5 things that I came up with. And it doesn't really illustrate what level of hate that I have for each of these individual things. So, number 2 is this fixed steering wheel. I believe in certain, at least in certain models of 325s and 328s, you can have a tilting or telescoping steering wheel, but not in the M3. There's a little spot underneath the steering column where you can tell that lever was in order to do the adjustments, but here it's just like it's like a piece of plastic that doesn't move. So the seats on these cars are very adjustable. You can adjust the back of them down or up, the front down or up. You can push this little, what do you call it, a leg support forward or backwards. You can bring the seat closer or further away, and then with the back of the seat, you can also recline that backwards and forwards, of course. So with all that seat adjustment, you may think that you'd be able to find a comfortable position, and that's probably true for most people, but not for me, because I am 6'4" and have some daddy long legs. So I tried to set up the camera to make sure that you guys could see my knees. As you can see right here, the top of my knee is pretty high up the door. It's basically to the level or above the level of the door handle. That's because my knees are pretty scrunched up. I have to sit very close to the steering wheel so that I can have an aggressive enough arm position to be able to catch this thing when I'm sliding sideways. Now in this car, I can put the seat back far enough to be comfortable with my legs, but then look at the position my arms have to be in. If you're sitting in a way where your arms are totally straight, it really makes you fumble for the wheel. I really should have my arms in even a better position than they are right now, but if I go any closer, my knees are gonna hit the steering wheel. And yeah, when I am catching oversteer and drifting around, my hands do hit my knees sometimes, and that is annoying. So I think what I have to do in order to fix that is to get a quick release with a spacer in the hub and maybe a steering wheel that has some dish in it to bring it out further to me, and that's what most people do, I think. Now, I don't think you need to be freakishly tall like me at 6'4" to notice that the steering wheel, or to be annoyed that the steering wheel doesn't adjust. But for me personally, it sure does make me feel like a grasshopper in here. Now, to continue on with the nitpicking, because that's what this stuff is, I do love this car, and none of these things are really a huge deal to me. But anyways, to continue on with that, number 3 on my list of 5 is got to be the fact that there is no 6th gear in this thing. Now, if you're anywhere but the United States, pretty much, you will have a 6th gear in your E36 M3, but not here in the United States, of course. Because we never get all the cool stuff that's on imports. They're always, at least the highest performance ones, always seem to be grannied down a little bit. So the biggest reason why that's a problem for me is I still really like this transmission. It shifts really nice, but the problem is when I am on the freeway and I'm in 5th gear at 80 miles an hour, the tachometer is at 3,500 RPMs. When I'm at 90 miles an hour, it's at 4,000 RPMs. Now, a lot of places may not have speed limits as high as they are around here, but we have a lot of 75-mile-an-hour speed limits, in some places even 80. So because of that, I am usually traveling pretty quick. So if I had a 6th gear, I believe in the Getrag 420Gs that are in the E36 M3, 1 through 5 is essentially the same. That 6th gear kind of acts as an overdrive to drop the RPMs down and let you cruise a little better with better MPGs. And if you guys didn't know already, I do have a Getrag 420G in my basement right now, waiting to be swapped in the car later. And for more than just the reason of having a 6th gear. Those 6 speeds are known to be quite a bit stronger as well when you add quite a bit more power. And with it being a little quieter in the cabin, if you're driving for a long distance, sitting at 3,500 or 4,000 RPMs for a long time can get a little bit annoying. To demonstrate number 4 on the list, we're gonna have to do a burnout. Let's talk about the clutch delay valve. What is a clutch delay valve, or the CDV? Well, it is a little valve that makes it so you really can't pop the clutch. Now, I did a burnout to demonstrate that yes, you can still spin the tires pretty dang easily, but where I notice it the most is when I'm starting out aggressively from a stop. Because this delays the engagement of the clutch, no matter how fast you let it out, when I'm trying to take off aggressively, sometimes it slips it a little too much. Or if I'm in 2nd gear, now I understand not a lot of people are going to be doing this as much as I do, but say I'm in 2nd gear and I kick the clutch to try to get the back end to step out, it won't really stab the clutch the way that I want it to and kick the back end out. I can feel the clutch being delayed. This clutch delay valve also has been known to cause a lot of premature wear on your clutch, and that's not good because replacing the clutch is never cheap. Why do they put this in the car? To save the transmission and to make shifting a little smoother in between gears. It helps to reduce driveline shock, and I understand that, but I don't think, well, there are a lot of people who delete that clutch delay valve, and I'm going to be one of those people, but it doesn't seem to cause any problem, and it doesn't seem to, in fact, it makes the clutch last longer, but I don't know that it's that much harder on the transmission anyways. Let's get on to the last and final thing, number 5, that I hate about the E36 M3, and this one really boggles my mind, to be honest. That's how slow this freaking steering rack is. I know with the E36 compared to the E30, this car has a little more comfort than was built in previous generations. And so I do understand that maybe they wanted the handling to be a little bit slower to make it seem not so jittery when you're driving around, but this rack is so slow. And that means that when you're going through canyons and taking turns, you've got to put a lot of input into the steering wheel to point this thing where you want to go. And that just doesn't really feel that sporty ever. There are a lot of people who swap in Z3 racks and other racks to quicken the steering ratio, and so there are solutions. You could even get drift knuckles to help this quicken the steering ratio, but you shouldn't have to do that on an M3. Now with that said, I still love to drive this car through canyons, as if you're a subscriber you will have known that it is obvious, so it's still a very fun car to drive in that regard. So besides the whole canyon carving and taking turns problem that slow steering rack presents, it gets more apparent the faster that you have to steer or the faster that you need to make transitions from left to right, particularly while you're drifting. I'm gonna pull into the church parking lot right here to demonstrate to you guys just how much steering input you have to put into the car to get it to turn where you want it to go. I'm going to turn the steering wheel all the way sideways. And look how little I'm turning here. Not very much at all. If I turn it completely upside down, I still am not turning that much. It may be kind of hard to demonstrate with this kind of view without you actually getting in the car and driving it. I feel like to drive this car or to drift it with the stock rack and stock steering and everything, you pretty much need to be a circus clown and know how to juggle, because that's what it feels like I'm doing whenever I drift it. Now also, if you've been with the channel for a while, you'll know that I had an opportunity to drive a Civic Type R, and that rack is basically the opposite of this one. It's a really fast steering rack. You barely have to turn the wheel at all, and it flies from left to right. It feels super sporty, it's really responsive. It just feels the way that I think a car should feel, and it made me a little jealous. So this whole issue with steering, you can solve it multiple ways. As I mentioned before, you can always get a quicker steering rack from a Z3, or I think there's another one you can swap in here. Or you could get drift knuckles or an angle kit or something of that sort that can quicken the steering ratio, at least within the first lock, by up to 40% I've seen. Maybe even a little bit more in some applications. Another thing that you can do is get a smaller diameter steering wheel, because think of it this way. If you have to put your hands to this position to get the steering wheel to turn that much, if you bring it a smaller radius, it's less of a turn that you have to make, less fumbling around. For me, I think I'll probably take two approaches. I'll get a smaller steering wheel, and that will solve two problems to help quicken my steering or make that feel a little bit easier, and also bring the wheel a little closer to me. And then if it still doesn't satisfy my needs or the way that I want it to drive, then I'll go for the steering rack. So anyways guys, I think that will do it for the 5 things that I hate about my E36 M3. I apologize if the video was a little bit shorter today, but what did you expect? I like the E36. It's kind of hard to talk about things that I don't like. I hope you all have an awesome day. Thanks for watching, thanks for subscribing, and thanks for hitting that like button. I will see you guys in the next one.